started. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our yoga class. So, I'm Micki, as you probably know by now. I love to use props in this class, so I have blocks. These can be really helpful. I have a blanket, a strap, a chair, and I'll be mindful to bring in some modifications. My favorite way to start class is on the back. And so you are welcome to start wherever you like. If you want to sit, if you want to lay down. I think a nice gentle pose to start out with is called constructive rest pose. And so for this can be kind of nice for the low back because if you stretch your legs all the way long, this can sometimes be a little bit hard on the low back. But in constructive rest, you would plant your feet on the mat and you might walk your feet a little bit wide and allow the knees to sort of cave in towards each other. And then you could stretch your arms out beside you, and maybe you want to take a nice sigh out through the mouth as you allow yourself a moment to settle in. And I just want to remind you that since this is your very own practice, you are welcome to find any shapes and poses, anything that meets the needs of your body. Your body that is incredibly 100% unique to you. And if it helps you to tune into your breath, you could even rest your hands on your belly and just start to breathe through the nose, sensing the rise and fall of your breath. Feel the earth cradling you, supporting you, rising to meet you where you are. In this class that is for beginners and everybody, I like to bring in a little bit of yoga philosophy, since yoga is not entirely about just movement. The word yoga means union. We can think about it as a lot of kinds of union of our breath with movement, union of our heart and our mind, union with ourself into the present moment. So on this second class of our series, we're studying the yamas and the niyamas, which are yoga's ethical practices. In the book by Deborah Adele, by that same name, the second yama is called Satya, which means truthfulness. The very first quote at the beginning of the chapter says, "Is my yes coming from a dark corner or from the light in my heart?" She's quoting CL, which I'm not exactly sure who CL is. She goes on to say that truth demands integrity to life and to our own self. That is more than not telling a simple lie. When we are real rather than nice, when we choose self-expression over self-indulgence, when we choose growth over the need to belong, and when we choose fluidity over rigidity, we begin to understand the deeper dynamics of truthfulness. And we begin to taste the freedom and goodness of this jewel. Throughout the book, in these 10 yamas and niyamas, she refers to each one of them as jewels. At this moment, you might bring an awareness into your heart center. Just noticing any sensations in the body, and then thinking about cultivating whatever intention would speak to you today. Maybe that intention is to work on truthfulness. I was recently talking to a friend about boundaries and our desire to please others. And that can kind of come back to this idea of the quote, "Is my yes coming from a dark corner or from the light within my heart?" As you cultivate this intention, you might imagine it as a glowing jewel at your heart center. With your inhale breath, imagine the jewel is glowing brightly. And as you exhale, allow it to balance out, soften, and fade. Take 3 more nice deep breaths like this. You might start to cultivate what we call ujjayi breathing, which is the warrior's breath. And this has a particular sound. It's almost like you are fogging up a mirror. Just listen for that ocean wave sound of your breath. And allow it to soothe your nervous system. Part of the reasons why we can practice yoga is that even off the mat, we might be able to bring in this breath when we find ourselves dysregulated, stressed, anxious. Can we call upon the tools of the breath? One of the 8 limbs of yoga is the breath, and it's called pranayama. If you're ready to invite some movement into the body, you can walk your feet out as wide as your mat and then allow your knees to gently begin to windshield wiper side to side. This can be a really small movement, just massaging gently the low back, or you might allow the knees to fall all the way over to the side if that feels comfortable for you. Remembering that you have choice and agency. No one is there to judge you. And maybe you could withhold judgment from yourself, offering yourself compassion and curiosity. Remembering that each one of these poses, each one of these movements is infinite in its variety. Maybe you start to turn your head from side to side. And you might even think about that gentle shake of the head no as you're able to gracefully set boundaries. Asking yourself, where is your yes coming from? Take one more nice deep breath on each side, and then we'll come back to center. You can bring the heels in towards the sit bones now, and we're going to get it ready for a bridge. So go ahead and bring your hands down next to your hips. And then on your next inhale, we'll start actually stretching through the upper back and the shoulders, the arms. So you can start to rainbow the fingertips up and over the body, reaching the fingertips past the ears. And as you exhale, allow the hands to gently rainbow back down towards the hips. Now we'll press up into our bridge. So you can press into your heels, engage your belly so you find some strength in your belly, and then go ahead and press your hips up any amount that feels right for you. Use the strength of your glutes, and then we'll lower the hips back down. Inhale, sweep the arms back up and overhead, finding some length, maybe some stretch through the shoulders and upper back. Go ahead and alternate now. We'll follow the pace of your own breath. And as you press up into bridge, you might start to tuck your tail, finding some engagement in the low belly. And then lower the spine back down, one vertebrae at a time. And continue finding a few rounds at your own pace. Listening once more for the sound of your breath and cultivating the practice of staying present with the body. It's normal for the mind to wander. It's such a curious little monkey, isn't it? We call that the monkey mind. Wants to ruminate on the past sometimes, playing over the tapes. Or it likes to look forward to planning all the things in the future. Maybe you can just bring it back, thinking of that as part of the practice. The next time you come up into your bridge, you could feel free to hold here for a few rounds of breath, building a little bit of strength. You might shimmy the shoulders underneath the body, maybe interlace the hands underneath you. Remembering these are all options, choices, variations. We'll take one more nice deep breath here. And then when you're ready, you can release that, lowering all the way onto the back. Go ahead and press into the heels once more, just to shift the hips a little to the right. And then we'll bring both knees to stack over to the left, opening up into a twist. You could send your gaze over towards your right hand. And you could stay right here, or with your next inhale breath, you might sweep the right hand up and over the body, reach the left fingertips, or reach past the left fingertips, and then you could glide the hand across the chest, opening back up into your twist. A different variation of this that might feel different in the shoulder would be to rainbow the hand, like glide it over top of the head. So now you're making like a semicircle, tracing it over with your fingertips on the floor. And you might explore either option. Hopefully getting into that chest area, a little bit of the upper back. The next time your hand comes over, we'll go ahead and roll onto one side. And I like to include some clamshells because we were talking before class about knee issues. And I did take my daughter to PT, and they said for the knee, it's important to strengthen the glutes to support the knee. So I like to include these. We also use the bridge for that. So let's glue the heels together. You can inhale to lift the top knee. exhale to lower, and keep the rest of the body as steady as you can, maybe even finding a little bit of strength in the core as you breathe and move at your own pace. If you want to make this a little bit more challenging, you could hover the knees, or hover the feet, lifting the feet so that they're just hovering over the ground. And you can always play around with either variation. Maybe propping your head up on your hand and taking some nice deep breaths here. There's no finish line, there's no race. So this is just an opportunity to build a little strength in the hip and in the glutes. We'll take one more nice deep breath like this, and then go ahead and close it down. You can bring your fist maybe to your hip and just give it a gentle tap, a little massage. We'll roll back onto the back now, and we'll find figure four pose. So you can keep your left foot on the mat. You're going to stretch through the glute by bringing the right ankle over the top of the left thigh. And you could stay right here if this is enough sensation. If you want to deepen the stretch, you could either bring your foot against the wall or a piece of furniture, the left foot, or you could grab the hole behind the thigh. Now, I find it a little bit hard to grab all the way behind my thigh, so I could take a strap behind my left thigh, and this kind of gives me a little bit more space to hold on, or just grab onto the sides of your pant legs. See if you can soften any place that's working too hard. Maybe the jaw and the shoulders. Even if you're holding on with your hands, can you find just that right amount of effort? I think so often we kind of overwork in our fast-paced culture. So finding the balance of your effort and your ease. Send some loving deep breaths into your hip joint, thanking it for all it does to support you. We'll take one more nice deep breath like this. And then you can go ahead and release this side, maybe bringing both feet back down to the mat. We can do that gentle windshield wiper a little bit, swaying the hips and the knees a little bit side to side. Any amount that feels right to you, just to shake it off. You might take a moment to pause now and notice the difference from left to right. And then we're going to get ready for the other side. So I'm just spinning around so that I can still face you. Go ahead and plant your feet on the mat. Shift your hips as you press into your heels. You can shift your hips a little bit to the left and allow the knees to fall over and stack onto your right side now. Moving any unnecessary items out of the way. You can open your arms out into a letter T, and you could stay right here in this glorious twist, allowing the spine to gently ring out. Or you could find that subtle movement of just rainbowing the hand up and over the body, reaching the fingertips past the right hand, gliding the arm across the chest to open back up into your twist. Or maybe you want that different variation, almost like your left hand is like a clock, the arm of a clock. You could reach it along the ground, up and overhead. And I'm once more needing to move some of my blocks and things out of the way. That's okay too. Take your time, use your nice deep breaths. to glide in and out. Almost allowing your breath to massage any sensations in the body. Stretching through the upper back, the shoulder. Go ahead and take one more nice deep breath like this. And the next time you roll onto your right side, you could either prop your head onto a block, or maybe you bend the elbow, allow your head to cradle on the palm of your hand. And then we'll try our clamshells on this side. So finding some steadiness in the body, gluing the heels together, lifting and lowering the top knee. You could also make this a little bit more challenging, floating the feet above the ground, remembering that there's no finish line. There's no gold medals. You already have the gold medal for carving out this special time and place for yourself. Breathing into the hip joint, you might notice subtle differences from left to right. Take it at your own pace and send your hip joint lots of love and gratitude. You can do as many or as few as you like. I'll take one more nice deep breath, and then you can close down the movement, slide the knees back, and just give your hip a gentle tap, maybe with your fist. Then we'll roll onto the back to stretch the left side, planting the right foot on the mat. You can cross the left ankle over the right thigh, and you could stay right here, or maybe you want to draw the shape into the body, flexing the left toes towards the knee. You could hug onto the back of your thigh or grab hold of the pant leg, or use the strap like we did the other side. Sometimes I like to shimmy close to a wall so I can plant the right foot against the wall or a piece of furniture for figure four pose. We'll take one more nice deep breath, noticing where you can soften. Take one more nice deep breath, and then we'll release the foot back down. Bring both feet to the mat, and once more you can just windshield wiper the knees a little bit side to side. From here, you can either hug the knees into the chest, and maybe you want to rock and roll up and down the length of the spine. But if that doesn't feel good in your body, just feel free to roll over onto one side, and we're going to come up into a seat. You can sit on a chair, and sometimes if I use like the metal chair, I like to bring a little blanket onto the chair just for seated poses. Or if you're wanting to sit on the ground, it can be helpful to take a blanket and maybe even fold the blanket to make a little cushion. And then this helps you sit in what they call sukhasana, which is a cross-legged seat. But as your hips rise, maybe even with a bolster or a pillow, then that can sometimes help with your knees, maybe a little bit. But find whatever is going to be comfortable for you. We'll take a moment to arrive in our seat, feeling your sit bones root down. You can lengthen through your spine. Find a little bit of a tuck in the chin, not an extreme tuck, but just enough so that you can have length through the back of your neck. As you arrive, feel the crown of your head beaming up towards the sky. Breathe into your heart center, sensing the glow of that intention. Might sense what color is the jewel. And then on the next exhale, go ahead and lower your head, bowing it towards your heart, keeping the back of your spine long. You can find just a little bit of stretch sensation for the back of the neck. And then with your inhale breath, we'll swing the right ear over towards the right shoulder. Exhale, bowing your head towards your heart. And inhaling the left ear towards the left shoulder. Go ahead and find a few more rounds like this, softly, gently, finding a little bit of stretch sensation for the neck. Allow your breath to soothe your nerves. With your exhale, you might invite any extra tension to leave the body. The next time your right ear floats over towards your right shoulder, you might pause there for a moment. And then we'll find some little head shakes. So we're going to shake the head no, lifting and lowering the chin towards the shoulder, and then maybe up towards the sky. Once more, I love this idea of gracefully allowing ourselves the practice of saying no. And then you can keep your chin now toward your shoulder, and we'll start to find some head nods, asking ourselves that question. Is my yes coming from a dark corner or the light in my heart? The next time your chin comes towards your shoulder, you can bow your head once more towards your heart, and then we'll sweep the left ear over towards the left shoulder. We're going to do the same thing on this side. So finding your no, practicing saying no as you gently stretch through the side of the neck, not throwing our heads around. We're just allowing for some soft, gentle movements. And when you're ready to say yes, you can allow your chin to come towards your shoulder. And maybe you start gently nodding the head yes. Take one more nice deep breath here, and then we'll return the head to bow towards the heart, gazing down at that beautiful intention for your practice, and then lift your head up to center. From here, let's inhale, sweep the arms up and overhead. Maybe take a moment to look up, and then you can plant your right hand down towards your hip, or if you're on a chair, you can set it on the seat of the chair, or you can also set it on the block. So wherever feels good to you, we'll sweep the left arm up and overhead, and you could gaze up at your left fingertips. You might start to draw a nice big circle, reaching the fingertips out in front, and then wrapping the hand up and around. Maybe you follow your fingertips with your gaze, just finding some nice mobility for the neck. Let's go ahead and take one more nice big circle here, using your imagination to find the colorful rainbow that you're painting with your hands. And then the next time your hand is up towards the sky, go ahead and press both hands up, looking up, reaching up. We'll draw that energy into the heart center, bringing the gesture of gratitude. We call this Anjali Mudra, and a mudra is a position that we take with our hands. Take one more round of breath and then go ahead and exhale as you bow your head towards your heart. And then we'll inhale to lift the gaze, float both arms up towards the sky. This time we'll land the left hand down at the ground, on the seat of your chair, or on a block. You can reach the opposite hand up towards the sky, maybe looking up. You can always stay here, or you might start to draw that beautiful big circle, reaching the fingertips out in front, and then wrapping the hand back up and around. And I forgot to mention that if you are seated cross-legged and that's hard on the knees, you could also open the legs up. Stretching the legs long if that feels better for you. Maybe you follow the fingertips with your gaze. We'll take one more nice deep breath here. And the next time your hand reaches up towards the sky, you can press into your left hand. Use the strength of your core to reach both arms up, and then we'll draw the hands into the heart, coming into Anjali Mudra, gesture of gratitude. From here, you can go ahead and blink the eyes open. And then you can either stay seated for cat and cow. I know some of you are saying you don't want to be on hands and knees. So to stay in a seated cat-cow, you can either be on the chair or seated cross-legged or with the legs extended. For a seated cat-cow, we're just looking for some mobility in the spine. So you might press your palms onto your knees or your thighs, lift the heart forward. Exhale, round the spine back, drawing the belly button in. You can go ahead and take a few rounds of breath. If at any time it would feel good, you could also take some other movements, maybe circling the spine around. You might allow your head and neck to join in this movement, leaning forward and back and around. And then feel free to reverse the direction of those circles when you're ready. Taking your time, allowing yourself to sit with the sensations. Withholding judgment, allowing for compassion and curiosity. We'll take one more nice deep breath here, and then go ahead and come back to neutral. We're going to make our way up to standing next, and you do have the option of a downward facing dog. I'm going to show the downward dog with the chair. So I'm going to bring the chair up close. And then to do a downward dog with the chair, well, I'm coming onto the knees, but I'm going to step one foot forward, tuck the toes under, step the other foot back, and then I can walk my feet back with my hands on the chair, lengthening through the spine, finding some support with the hands and the upper body. Reaching the sit bones back, you can sort of pedal the heels a little bit side to side. And then from your downward dog at any time, go ahead and walk your feet to your hands. If you're using the chair dog, you might just find a forward fold, allowing your arms to hang. And then you could wrap your hands around your opposite elbows and just gently ragdoll here, a little side to side. Once more, you might try shaking your head no, and then nodding your head yes. And then we'll find stillness. You could press your palms now, releasing your hands. You could press them onto your shins, onto blocks, or onto the seat of a chair. We'll press into the support to lift up halfway. Exhale to forward fold. And go ahead and try that 2 more times. Inhaling to press up, lengthening the spine forward, keeping length through the back of the neck. You can sort of tuck the chin a little. Maybe you draw the belly up towards the spine, and then exhale, let it go in your forward fold. This time from your forward fold, you can go ahead and spring load the knees, press into the legs as you rise up to stand, and you might circle sweep your arms up and overhead, looking up. Exhale, draw the hands into the heart center. Go ahead and find that 2 more times. And then we'll take a moment to pause in our standing mountain pose. Feel your feet rooting down into the earth. Feel a soft bend in the knees, and you can find a little slight tuck in the tailbone just to bring the belly button towards the spine. We'll allow the shoulders to relax. Feel a softness in the face, relaxing the jaw. Feel yourself a strong, steady mountain. And then when you're ready, we'll blink the eyes open. For the next set of poses, if you know how to do these without a chair, I invite you to try either one. The request came in to do some variations on the chair. So I'm going to go ahead and bring my chair, and we're going to try a Warrior 2 sequence. If you'd like, you can try it on a chair. So if you want, like this is a hard chair, so I kind of actually love to bring a blanket onto the seat of the chair just to give myself a little bit of extra padding. So I'm going to bring myself onto the chair, sitting upright, and then I'm going to rotate so that my my right hip is on the chair, my left hip is kind of off of the chair, and then I'll step the left foot back so that I'm finding kind of a supported lunge. And this would be the same stance as a Warrior 2. Standing, it would look like this. So you're kind of in a standing lunge with that back foot back. So just for fun today, I'll try it on the chair. Okay, so finding some comfort, however this looks for you. And then we'll grow the arms forward and back. So I have my right hand forward, left hand back. We call this pose Virabhadrasana 2 or Warrior 2. Now you could stay right here, allowing the shoulders to melt away from the ears. Or we could turn this into a peaceful warrior, landing the backhand, flipping the front palm, reaching that hand up towards the sky. It's like surrendering your weapon, peaceful warrior. On your next inhale breath, we'll come back into Warrior 2. And then you can lean that front forearm onto the front thigh. And maybe you reach the top hand up towards the sky or up and over for an extended side angle. Lifting through the heart. Noticing what you notice, feeling into sensation. And then we can float between these 3 shapes. So inhale to Warrior 2. Maybe pause for your exhale. And then inhale for peaceful warrior. And you might stay here for your exhale, coming back into warrior two. And then inhaling once more for extended side angle. You might even look up at that hand if it feels okay for the neck. And feel free to follow the pace of your own breath. One more time. And if you're on the chair, you might sort of challenge yourself. You can still find some strength in the legs by really pressing into the legs as if you were going to float yourself off of the chair. And that would still build some strength. I can feel my thigh engage. And then let's meet up in our warrior two. And then we'll bring it back to center. So you can walk the feet back in. Find either Tadasana, mountain pose, or if you're in the chair, you might find a seated Tadasana. Bringing your hands to heart center, or you might lay your hands flat on your chest, listening for the sound of your own heartbeat, that unique rhythm. Another beautiful quote from the book that I have memorized at this point is, now I say I haven't memorized, and of course I'm going to forget it, right? But, oh no, I remember it. We are here on this earth to self-express in a way that no one else ever has or ever could. Satya, truthfulness. Your own unique light, your own unique voice. And then let's get ready to try the other side. So if you're wanting to do it on the chair, I'll just swing over so that my left leg is forward. Pretty much my left hip is resting on the chair, and then I'm going to stretch the right leg back to find a lunge. And I have my foot on the mat. I don't really like to keep my chair on the mat as long as it's going to be steady and supportive, just because I've made some permanent indentations on my mat with the chair before. And then you can kind of turn your torso forward as you stretch your arms forward and back, finding your center, feeling yourself present in center. You can sort of activate the legs by pressing into the feet, almost imagining you're able to float off of the chair. You might feel yourself rooted here in center with that connection behind you to your past, with your sight set forward towards the future. And then we can float that hand back, reaching the top arm up for peaceful warrior, surrendering your weapon. Inhale to come back to center, pausing for your exhale, and then inhaling, bring the forearm to rest on the front thigh, reach the back arm up towards the sky, or maybe even at a diagonal. So we're finding extended side angle here. And you can go ahead and come back to warrior two and just find your own pace, your own breath, making any adjustments you need for comfort in your body. Remembering that each of these shapes has infinite variation, also beautifully unique. Breathing into sensation, realizing there's no finish line, there's no end range here. This is not a race. Go ahead and take one more nice deep breath in each position, and we'll come back to warrior two. And then you can go ahead and swivel the feet back to center, walking it back to center, finding your Tadasana, either seated or standing. Now we're going to get ready for a goddess pose. And I'm going to do this one on the chair as well. Why not? We're right here already. So for a chair goddess, you can walk your feet out, just make any adjustments you need for comfort. And then you can bring your feet out sort of in a, well, it's a squatting position. So your knees can be out wide, your feet can be pointed towards the corners of the mat. And then here again, if you're seated in the chair, you could activate the legs by gently pressing into the earth, almost imagining you were going to rise up from the chair. You can keep your hands on your thighs, bring them to your heart, or you might open them out into cactus arms. On your inhale breath, go ahead and press into your legs, reach your arms out to the corners of the room, and then exhale, cactus the arms. Inhale, reach the arms out. And if you're standing, you could straighten the legs. And then exhale, cactus the arms out. Inhale to reach and exhale to cactus. Now here, we're going to stay in the cactus arms and we can practice another pranayama. That's a breath practice. It's called lion's breath. So for lion's breath, you're going to stick out the tongue and roar like a lion. I love this one for any tension in the jaw. Maybe for a moment you might gather up any of those things you wanted to say that you stopped yourself from saying because you thought, well, that was inappropriate, but it still was a thought in your mind. You might release it with the lion's breath. Let it all go. Then we could bring the arms and the breath together. So reach the arms out. And then as you cactus them, and out your breath. We'll release that, bringing the hands onto the thighs. We're going to do a little twist here. So you can anchor your hands right on the tops of the knees. Bring your left shoulder over towards your right knee. And of course, I reversed that in my own body. We'll inhale to come back up to center and exhale to the other side. You might try this 2 more times on each side, finding a little twist, wringing it out. It's funny because I said 2 more times, but I realize now that I didn't count. So whenever you feel balanced from left to right, you can come back to center. We are going to make our way onto our bellies next. So however it would feel comfortable to get there, if you were mentioning pain in the knees, how can we get down with support? We could possibly use a blanket underneath the knees to pad, or use the chair to help us get down. So however works best for you to get down onto the belly. If there's a way to skip being on the knees, we won't stay on the knees, okay? So we're just going to come down onto the belly, and you can stretch each leg back, balancing on the belly, and then stack the palms right underneath the forehead, allowing the forehead to gently rest on the back of your hands. This is a lovely resting pose called Makrasana or crocodile pose. And I suppose actually if you were seated, if you didn't want to come onto the belly at all, I should have mentioned this earlier, but you could even do this sitting in a chair. If you had like a tabletop or a desk, you could stack your palms and just lower your forehead down. Allow this position to be grounding for your nervous system. One of my favorite teachers from my yoga teacher training describes this pose as a really nice remedy for anxiety. And sometimes we forget that we have these tools. You might just imagine any busyness in the mind, just like a buzzing bee. Allow it to almost land on that forehead area, or any thoughts, any debris. You allow it to fall out of the mind, compost down into the earth. Take one more nice deep breath there, and then we will slide the elbows to stack underneath the shoulders. So your hands are planted on the mat. You can press into your palms to lift your heart forward into what's called Makrasana, crocodile pose. And if this is at all sensitive on the low back, some things that you can think about are sort of tucking the tailbone in under so that you can draw your belly up towards your spine, or you could lower down a little bit into a baby cobra with your hands underneath your shoulders if the Sphinx pose here is too hard on the low back. Take a nice deep breath, and on your next exhale, you can peer over your left shoulder, like you're peeking back towards your heel. And then we'll inhale to gaze forward. Exhale, peek over your right shoulder now towards your heel. Inhale to bring your gaze back forward. And then we'll exhale, lower the forehead down, maybe to the mat. Or if it doesn't reach all the way, you could bring a pillow, a blanket, or a block to rest your forehead. From here, we'll sweep the hands towards the hips, and we're going to find some flying superhero position, locust pose. So on your next inhale, you can lift your heart. Maybe you lift your arms, lift your legs. Use the strength of your back body to float onto the belly. On the next exhale, you can soften your forehead back down to the block, or you might turn your gaze to the right, bringing the left temple down to the ground, or to the block, or to a pillow. And we'll try that once more. Inhale to lift the heart, lift the arms, float the legs perhaps, coming into a flying superhero position. Take some nice deep breaths here. And then on your next exhale, you can turn your gaze to the left, softening your right temple down towards the ground or any support. Take one more nice deep breath. And then we'll bring it back to center. You can bring the palms underneath the shoulders. Now, I was just thinking about, you could press up to tabletop, but some of us are wanting to avoid the knees. So maybe another option would be to roll onto one side and then press yourself up into a seat. Look at that fancy move to avoid being on the knees. We're going to come onto our seat next. You can bring your feet forward, reach your hands out in front, and start to lean back any amount till you find that strengthening in the core. You could also hug on to the back of your knees for support. You might lift one leg or both legs. So just allowing yourself to play around with Navasana, boat pose. A bit of strengthening for the belly. Now, this is totally optional, but you can come back up to center and you might bring your hands back and just lift your heart. And if you want to work on strength here, we can do what's called an upside down tabletop. So I'm going to actually bring my fingers out to the side. You could stay right here or press into your hands and your heels. Lift your seat any amount into altar pose. It's like an upside down tabletop. Take as many or few breaths as you like there. And then you can come back to your boat. Maybe you want to try that just for fun a few more times. So you could lift any amount. Remember, everything is optional. And then come back into your boat. And you could stay in boat for a few rounds of breath and skip the altar pose. And remember that the beginning of this shape could even just be leaning back onto your forearms or onto your hands. You could even lean back onto your forearms if you prefer. You want to be off the wrists. And this could be your variation of altar pose. Whenever you feel done with that, we'll come back onto the back. You can hug the knees into the chest. If you have a strap, you could also use the strap around the shins. And then give yourself a little gentle back massage by circling the knees. Gently making a little circle in one direction. And then when you're ready, reversing the direction of your knee circles. I do like to leave a little bit of time before our final rest, which is called Shavasana, which means corpse pose. I like to leave a little bit of time if there's any of your favorite poses. Maybe you can think back to any yoga classes you've taken in the past and ask yourself if there's anything that you would like to explore in your body. And you can give yourself that gift now. If instead you want to follow me into a happy baby, you might grab hold of your feet or behind your thighs would work, or even around your ankles. And this could be a nice little massage for your ankles. If you want to grip your ankles with your hands, you could sort of rotate your feet and ankles. Find a little massage here. If you want to grab hold of your feet, you could also rock a little bit side to side, resting on one knee, extending the leg long. And it's also your option to skip anything and just go straight to your final rest. You might bring the soles of the feet to kiss, opening the knees out wide. And then feel free to grab anything that would make you feel cozy. Maybe a pillow to rest over the eyes. You're also welcome to come into that very first pose we started in, called constructive rest, where your feet are on the ground, your knees are supporting each other, caving in towards your center midline. Your arms could rest at your sides, or you could bring them to rest on your belly, allowing you more opportunity maybe to tune into your breath. Take an opportunity to make yourself extra cozy. And we say in yoga that this corpse pose, the final rest, is really the most important. And I think so often in our culture, we skip the rest. We think we have to be busy all the time. Maybe you can give yourself this gift of just 10 minutes out of your whole entire day to truly soften, allow your body to integrate, finding that union. Feeling the balance of your inhale and your exhale. I wanted to read another quote from the book by Deborah Adele. Just allow these words of about truthfulness, Satya, to wash over you. Maybe like little drops of rain. You can just allow them to fall wherever they may. This quote really spoke to me. People who are nice hold truth inside until they reach a breaking point, and then they become dangerously inappropriate. She says, I know because I used to be such a person. And I would say, I know because I can be that person. Real comes from the center of our unique essence and speaks to the moment from that center. Real has a boldness to it, an essence, a spontaneity. Real asks us to live from a place where there is nothing to defend and nothing to manage. It is a contact with the moment that is not superimposed or pre-packaged. Real is something we might not always like, but we come to know that there will be no surprise. Real is not always pleasant, but it is trustworthy. When we habitually silence or distort ourselves, we begin to lose our lust for life and look towards other things to fulfill us. We can forget that we are here on this earth to self-express in a way no one else ever has or ever could. You can begin to deepen your breath, bring your awareness into your heart center, sensing the glow from that intention, your beautiful jewel there at your heart. There is no one exactly like you. Take a moment to appreciate your own uniqueness, the importance of your unique expression. Your truth. Allow yourself to feel cradled and held by the strong, supportive earth. Feel the warm embrace of the universe holding you to the ground in the form of gravity. As you breathe deeply, you can sense the glow from your heart. Allow the light to fill your body, glowing out through your skin, reaching out into the stars. You might take a moment to cultivate awe and wonder at what an amazing gift it is to be here, alive today, in this unique time and place. Sense gratitude for this body. It's taken you all throughout the world, all throughout your life, with its unique injuries, its ability to heal. Sense kindness and compassion for yourself in this moment. And then as you deepen the breath, invite some gentle movement into your fingers and toes. Maybe start to rotate the wrists and the ankles. And then you can find a long body stretch, reaching the fingertips past the ears, stretching the legs long. You might roll onto one side, cradling your head on your upper arm or on your hands. And then whenever you feel ready, take your time, move slowly, use the strength of your arms to press yourself up into a seat. You can invite your hands back to your heart center in a gesture of gratitude, Anjali Mudra. You might allow your head to gently bow towards the wisdom of your loving heart. It's such an honor and a privilege to guide you through your practice. Thank you so much for joining me. And feel free to let me know if you have any thoughts or questions about class.